Welcome back to another beautiful day at Crater Lake, and we're very honoured and privileged today to have a special guest. We have SUNY's apprentice Shaunette here with us, which is going to be incredible. When these two get together, there's always things popping and a lot of stuff comes out, and I'm sure you're going to be in for one ride today with Shaunette here with us. So welcome, Shaunette, and
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to see what you're going to bring to the discussion today.
Thank you.
It'll be good.
I'll bring my best.
I'm sure you will. Yesterday we were talking about the
Oh.
core.
Introduce the Woolly Mikeys.
Well, we had them before, but
Yeah, but
Shaunette's
know.
got a special one. She's got the grey colour on
I have
today.
the grey one.
I wanted the gray. She wouldn't give me the gray.
I would give you the grey.
Oh,
I love you that much. But I do have the grey.
okay. Next question.
Yesterday we began talking about the core and went into that in quite
Yep.
detail. And there's a couple of questions I just wanted to finish off that section with today.
Okay.
Why is it important to experience your core grounded deep into the earth?
Great question. Like them all, but that's a great question. We've already discussed the core and how when you operate out of the core, you have a deeper experience of everything, and you have more engagement of you and your relationship with creating everything. So, and I've said, we came to be in body. We did not come to leave this body. We came to experience the body, incorporate the body, operate the body. So we're walking on the planet. This is Mother Earth gave us our life. It gives us fire. It gives us water. It gives us is a participant in the air. So when you take your core and ground it into the earth, it brings you into a deeper experience of your physical form being spiritual. We have avoided it. We came in as kids, and we learned how to get out and avoid the body because the boy coming in going, oh, I can't do that. It's uncomfortable. Too many big emotions in physical form, so I'm going to check out. I did that. I was good at checking out. Out of body back in 10. And now they go out of body back in 10. Oh, she went to visit the collective. So, but when you anchor in, it grounds you into why you're here. It grounds you into the breath and the life of the planet. It grounds you into the creational energy that is the form of all of this. One of the best ways, do you want me to go into tools now or later? Because I have a tool for grounding too. We can do tools later. It's up to you.
We have a section on,
Okay.
on tools.
Okay.
If we can cover that later, would be great.
Now, you've learned a lot about grounding. What does it give you guys?
Well, working with SUNY has actually been such a gift in my life. And my typical day is I'm out in the field working in a business and working with people. So I'm kind of out there. And so I'm experiencing people kind of the way you're talking about, kind of out. And so when I ground in, it gives me a sense of stability. It definitely increases my ability to create. So once I'm grounded in, I'm just more locked in to talking to universal energy, whatever you want to call that.
As physical?
As physical.
Yeah.
So molecules just to me move a little more efficiently. And,
They do.
And it feels better. Like I just feel better when I'm grounded in. I'm more solid. I actually feel like I have better access to knowledge and information. Like if there's something coming in, if I'm grounded in, it's just a cleaner signal if I'm grounded in.
Yeah, and communication with it. Yep. What's it like for you?
A lot of similar to
Because you were up in your head a lot, and,
Yeah.
and as much as you were kind of grounded physically when I met you, but running head. A lot of chatter, figure everything out, and he's really good at figuring things out. Analytical. So we had to join those.
Yeah, and a lot of what Shaunette said I experience as well. And the other thing for me, I suppose a lot of the mental chatter in the mind does drop away. And things become very clear. And once I do get grounded in the day, you find that things for that whole day seem to run, they take care of themselves. Things go smoothly. When I'm not in that space, then there's a lot of stuff going on and you feel like you're almost pushing against things all day and you're always having to, I won't say fight against it, but
You do struggle and
it
fight,
takes a
yeah.
lot of effort. And when I'm nice and grounded, things flow and they happen, and the time usually speeds up. You get things done so much quicker.
And I would say you do struggle and fight because the egoic system wants to control the world to be happy. This has to be a perfect frosting on that cake or I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah.
But when you ground in not into your body, into the earth, it places your positioning on the planet. I am on the job. I clocked in. I'm the foreman of my job of this energy spaceship on the earth form. And it places you down into that job as you do it. Now, when you earth ground it, what happens is you're more in allowing who and what you are non-physically to operate than the egoic system that wants to go manipulate all this. You're more in this with everything, and like you said, it's got a communication going on. It's got you get more information, you're more creative, you're more centered, because this earth is a massive, big part of being here on the planetary system. Most sacred teachings teach the earth first, and then us.
And I wanted to add, I got up pretty early this morning to be here for this, and I had a most magnificent drive over here. And there was elk, there was steam rising from the fields, there was the river.
Cool.
Like, the drive here from my house is phenomenal. And it's interesting because I had to catch myself. I noticed it's almost like part of me was not in body, and I was trying to be about a mile ahead of where I was, and because I wanted to get here. So I'm leaning in, wanting to get here. And I really had to notice that was what's happening. And it's a feeling. Like, I had to notice the feeling. I'm kind of got that edginess. I'm kind of leaning forward. That's a good indication I'm not grounded in.
You're talking about a feeling. Are you feeling your mind out there?
It almost feels like, yeah, I would say
kinda
yes.
like that,
I
yeah.
would say yes, but it almost felt like there was more
Yeah.
of that out ahead. And so I had to grab that and come back in and ground. And I will say that I'm going to drive that same road here. It's going to be the same trek. What experience do I want to have in the car? So I can either be kind of edgy and wanting to get here and be anxious, or I can ground in and be grounded in the earth and have a much more pleasurable experience in the same hour and a half it took me to get here.
Yeah.
So, but noticing that it just didn't feel as good. And so
And it becomes
to
more
catch it,
whole.
it
Your
did.
experience is a lot more wholer.
Right.
My word.
Wholer's
I
the
know
word
it's not in the dictionary. They have a lot of those. But it's a lot more completeness, so you don't have to be out there because you have so much fullness here. Yeah.
That's a great lead into my next question,
Okay.
and the last question in this section on the call, and that is, how do you trust your core and energy more than you trust the outside world?
That's easy, I know. Okay. Let's go back a little bit
Okay.
on why you're here. You're here to operate the dynamic, endless life force that you are inside. It's an energetic operational spaceship, if you want to call it. Somebody's calling it that. And again, we talked about your human identity and your soul identity. For lack of a better word, that's a great word. When you go to your core identity, okay?
Okay.
The facts of the human, thank you very much, the facts of the human identity are facts that are not unstable. Okay,
Right.
This is a rock, and over a year, it'll move, it'll do this, okay? But in your core identity, there are truths that don't move.
Okay.
Source exists. Source is whole. Source is expression of me inside. Source is, I always say, not nutted up about this, Suni.
Yep.
Okay, I am, all right? So those are facts and what I call laws that are immovable in the universe. A lot of the facts and figures that you bank on with the egoic system, those are all movables because there are forms that are form out of form. But there are truths in the core that are immovable. You can't change them. You can't change them.
And that's where the trust comes from?
Well, don't you when you have a truth, if you believe there's a life force in the universe, that is a synchronizing life force, dynamic life force that does the glue of this universe and all these little synchronicities and flowers. I sit and I look at all the flowers in bloom right now. the creation and design. I'm like, I give God a high five and say, you did so good on that. You know, that was so awesome. But you know that's a truth. There's truths that just don't move, but you have to claim them. If you don't claim there's a dynamic life force, then what are you claiming?
Yeah.
You know, and we talked about it a little bit. I'm going in here. If you don't want me to, you tell them to get out. Where I get clients in and they have, yes, I believe in source, but this over here, that was done to me. There's a force in the universe that did that to me. And you'll ask him, and what's that force made up of? And where'd it come from? I don't know, but it's there. And I said, I need you to find out where it came from, where you got it, and then come back for our next session. And they can't come, they don't have an answer because it's made up in the egoic system. They can't say it's a source field. There's only one power in the universe, one force source in the universe, and everything is made up of it, which technically makes everything, even the big, bad, ugly stuff, for me.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be given to me if I didn't have the power within me to do something with it. You can trust that.
Yeah.
You can trust 24/7 you have power even if you don't think you do.
My next series of questions, and we touched on this briefly yesterday, and that was on the ego. And I'd like now to delve in a lot deeper and see if we can
Get into the good stuff.
uncover the mysteries. And so my first question, again starting off very simply, is I'd just like to know, what is the ego and what is its role?
In a quick little nutshell,
Yeah.
the child comes in, and by the way, I want to tell everybody, if you hear laughter from children, we are at the park, and there are people that come and go around us, and the cameraman asked me to make sure we explain that we're in light that changes consistently. Cool thing about being here, because this lake changes consistently. The beauty, it's like it's a living
beautiful here.
motion picture to watch. It's amazing. Okay, the child comes in, and in order to fit into the family and be what mom and dad wants him to do, he has to take on a form. If a child comes in and says, mom and dad say, well, mom says, well, we didn't want a girl, we wanted a boy. And she never really accepts the girl. I mean, there are many people out there, I'm one of them, that had that experience, and she never really accepts the, you know, and especially back in my area, it was a big era for her. It was a big deal to produce a male for the family. And so the child has to, that hurts. There's some separation and rejection to it. And so the child has to come up with, the ego comes in and says, I have to hold you protected from that pain. And we're going to form that if you're this and you do this here, there's an identity that you can survive this pain, survive this uncomfortability. And we do identities everywhere. But the egoic system, the egoic system is such an intricate thing. I just love it. It's one of our biggest assets. Part of it, the egoic system, is to keep you from those pains, and part of the egoic system is, and I think the one you want to talk into, is that its job is to give you separation experiences on the planet.
Yep.
So it's going to come in and tell you you should be afraid. It's going to come in and tell you can't go over the cliff like our cameraman did, and that you and I wouldn't even, we were looking for a rope. We were looking for a 200-foot rope. We didn't have the guts to do that. You know, he had the identity and the reality, so he could. But so the egoic system, is going to come in and it's going to give you fear. It's going to move you into separation experiences as much as it possibly can, and it loves you so much.
Does that mean you're saying then, you come in with, do you actually come in with an ego, or is it created when you arrive in physical?
It's been my experience. It's almost instantaneously arrived, because the child's coming in with all these, you know, food comes from out there, air comes from out there, sound comes from out there, words come from out there, communication comes from out there. And so in order to form itself out there, it has to have an identity form to go with it. And so the child is always forming, and there's pain in that forming of separation, and then the ego goes about using whatever pain protection mechanisms you have to keep you away from it. And so then it wants you in separation from, you can't be who you are as this amazing gifted child with this parent. They're threatened by that, or they don't have the life skills to have you be yourself. So being yourself isn't okay. So then the protection mechanism, the egoic system goes up and goes, I can't be myself, I can't be myself, I can't be myself, I don't deserve anything, I'm not valuable. We all know that. We came in to experience it.
Yeah. I mean, are the ego and the mind the same, or are they two different things?
I would say energetically, the ego is a system. It's part of our design because we came in here to do separation experiences. So we were designed to have it, but in operation, it's a program of the mind. Does that?
Yeah, does that make sense?
Getting a little intricate there. I don't want to go too deep into that.
I'm curious then to know how the ego experiences the world, or where it gets its knowledge and information from.
Oh, that's easy. It says negative things about anything.
Okay.
It delivers the exact opposite truth of your authenticity.
Okay.
So if Shawnette is doing, she's an amazing granite designer. You want granite in your bathroom and your kitchen and your house. You want her to get her, hire her, fly her across the country. She's really good. She's intuitive. She'll tell you how it works, and you'll just go, it's amazing. So let's say she got hired for a massively big job, bigger than she's ever done. Somebody out there is going to do that. We're creating for you.
You always want a bigger one next.
Yes. So she gets this massively big job, and it's a prime opportunity for the egoic system to come in and say, oh, I can give her some real fear about that. Anytime we get authentic at all, the egoic system, let me get her off it. Because if I can get her off it, the journey to get back to it and on it is what she came to have.
Okay. When you say get the fear from, where does it access the fear? How does it know about fear? Where does it?
Well, that goes back to the child
taught.
that needs to be protected.
Where I'm coming from is what you taught me as I've let more to go on. The ego seems to get its information based on facts and circumstances. It's always, it's based on the past effectively.
Yep.
I'm seeing if you can talk into.
Okay, that part of the egoic system, that part, how the whole egoic system operates, is based on all the facts from the past.
Yep.
Okay, and any facts that I give it about the future.
Okay.
But that's why we get into trouble, because it doesn't like being present in the now, in between thoughts. Because when you go thought, and in between thoughts, you get to source and experience yourself as the presence of source. And what's going to happen is there's no facts. There's just peace and wholeness and presence and love and joy and inspiration. And the ego's going, but I don't have any facts. I can't live there. And you're going, yeah, that's right.
And that's where the separation comes from?
Yeah.
And I would say a lot of this is learned. So if I have a situation in my family where I'm taught to not be in my authentic self, and I know there are different family dynamics where some kids are now being allowed to have that.
They are.
But if you're
So cool.
if you're not really being shown that, and of course as a parent you're only showing your child the best of what you know, so you're getting the best of your parents, but we always evolve as we go through.
Yep.
And so if I'm not valuing you being in your authentic self, I'm sending you a message you're not enough.
Yep.
So if I've got a message I'm not enough, that you kind of carry that through. So
And that's the survival identity.
for us to move through. So if I get hired
It's
for a job,
Hey, don't
Go
lose
ahead.
your thought. That is a legacy. I call it a legacy that you got the message you're not enough. You're going to carry that on and prove that legacy to be right when you carry it. So if mom didn't think you were enough because she didn't think she was enough, you're going to prove and create situations in your life, oh, that belief system is right. I am not enough. See, I tried that. I'm not enough.
it continually proves it. And the fear, and you talked about the fear. If as a parent, I'm driving in the car and I go, and I'm having a reaction in the car, my child is in that field. So our fears, and oftentimes will come from maybe a past experience I've made a decision about,
Yep.
or a fear that I've been taught. And
Yep.
so, we gather that along.
Well,
and
I always say, hang on to that. I always say the parent is the guitar, and the child's the amplifier.
Okay.
and we're acting out a lot of those different places.
Yeah, I'm curious. I know I've certainly had this situation on many occasions, and sometimes more than I'd like. That's when,
Oh, good. Come on, give it to us.
and that's when the ego sort of gets hold of you, and you start, and it has
Dive,
running
dive,
away.
dive.
Oh, yeah.
And when you go back and you look at it after it's had its
Way.
way, then you look at it and it's completely irrational, and it's not something you normally do. But I'm just curious if you can talk into sort of how and why that happens, and
Well, its job is to get you out of and not experiencing your core. It loves you, like I said earlier, it loves you so much, and it is loving you, getting you separated, And so it's going to have, if you have one thought, there'll be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 thoughts right after it. Click, 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 one after another. Click, 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 click. We're at the park. And so, and the cool thing is to know that if you catch the very first thought, and they're saying you can do preventative medicine for the first thought also, we'll get there in a minute, but if you catch the first thought, and then you got one thought, and you go down deeper into the experience of the separation and the fear and the terror, whatever it is, and the deeper down you go, you start, I always call it the lake, you go down into the lake.
Yep.
And Jeanette called one day and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm experiencing the ego." And I said, and you know how someone who's working with alcohol, and they're just fresh in recovery or something, you put them in a bar, give them one drink, they can't do one, right? So I said, "I'm over in the ego bar. I've been doing shots. I'm into the bottle, and I'll be on the ego cocaine any minute. Get me out." Because it sucks you down, and its job is to spiral you away. Remember we said, here's the core, here's the source, and as you go farther away, there's a gravity. So its job is to suck you out, and then you're going to go, the gravity, in the minute you go, wait a minute, I don't have to do this, it goes, and the gravity, you start feeling the gravity pulling you back into the core, pulling you back into the loving, self-allowing, the truths of the universe. I have power here. I have power here.
yeah, and that was my next question, which you started leading into, and that is, what should we do when the ego takes control? How do we get back into our core?
I want to talk a little bit into one, when you mentioned how your ego's really got you, and
Yeah.
I call that being triggered.
Okay.
Yep.
So once I'm triggered and the gate's open and American
always how
Pharaoh
you
is out the
feel.
gate, it's going. And it is gauged on how you feel. And I think that as you start to go into that, there is a form of, we do it because there's some comfort in it.
Oh,
And so
we like suffering.
based on what we're studying, it's very indulgent. So there's an indulgence to it and there is some comfort, but overall, you don't really feel good. There is some comfort. I don't know if it's familiarity, but there's some kind of comfort. When I'm triggered and allow myself to get into that ego place, there's something there that is fairly familiar.
Well, the collective said you guys are overqualified and mastered in focusing on negative.
So I like to do what I'm good at.
You like to do what you're good at.
So there I
And
go.
we like familiarity, and suffering is familiar. We know how to suffer. We know what to expect. We know we're going to be miserable for a week. We know that if somebody betrayed us, we're going to be miserable for
Get
the
to
next.
be a victim.
Get to be a victim role. We get to a really good thing that I like when we get over there is a statement that I make to myself is that I am abusing my role of powerlessness.
Yes.
And that's
a
one
good
thing
one.
you want to remind yourself all the time. I have power here. I have power with this stupid feeling. I have power with this ego. I have power with feeling miserable. And that's a good beginning gateway to get yourself back into your core with the power.
That takes some muscle.
Yeah, gotta
because
build it.
not everybody's really studying, and it is natural to kind of go down that negative road.
Well,
and
we're
so,
trained to drive that
so
road.
you can be out in the world, and everybody kind of gets you. Like they'll kind of let that go on and kind of let that fester a little bit. It takes more muscle and more core strength to claim your power back and go, you know what? No, I'm going to actually find a point of light because I happen to know sources in all things, and there's power here. I do have power here, and to pull yourself back out of that triggered place.
But that means that you have to have it, and trust me, I went through a period of my life, I experienced a lot of abuse, that I didn't have a recognition that I was worth pulling out,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
We've got a little more practice, so
Yeah.
I'm talking about, I guess,
Yeah.
personally
Yeah.
what it takes. But you're right, you may
I
not
didn't,
have
in
those
the beginning
things.
I didn't
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah.
But if there's a recognition, if you can get to a recognition that you were designed, built magnificently, you're the only one like you in the entire universe. And you are designed and built and exist because the universe decided you were valuable and important.
Yeah.
And from there, trust that to be a truth. Source doesn't make junk. I've heard that long ago. It doesn't create anything that isn't in value. Values everything equally. You can't get off that hook. You can play the role and pretend that you're not valuable as much as you want to, but the truth is you were created as value, you are value, it ain't going away, and you can't lose it because you're eternal. You are value. Can't go away. So starting with that is a really good start to place, even at our level of, I don't even like levels advancement. We've arrived at understanding it.
Practice.
Just because we know this stuff doesn't mean we don't get off road and get sucked into the lake of the ego suffering, you know?
The value's a big one. And it just when you think you've got it, of course, we graduate into another something. You go, man, I've got to grab my value on that. And that's been a really big lesson and a big practice for me is the value. It's
Yep.
big.
Did we answer your question?
I think so. We've talked about the ego and the ego taking hold of yourself. And again, I'd like to now ask you about...
The ego trying to take a hold. You have the power whether you're going to play its world or not.
Yeah, so what I'm curious to find out is what is the best way to work with the ego?
Kick it out the door. No. The best way is to begin not pushing against it. Don't be angry and upset that you have it. Don't go to war with it because anything you push against, you make more of. And along with it, you have to understand who you are. You're supposed to have it.
Okay.
It's supposed to be there. It's supposed to be lovingly kicking you off road. So once you get that, and the ego comes in with its program, and you're going to find out the first that you got is if you don't feel good, you run an ego program.
Pretty much. It's that simple.
That simple. In or out, that's it. And the more you work your way back into feeling better and good, the more in your core, the more you're engaged in the presence of the unity and the of all that is and the abundance that is, and more abundance will fly into you. But if you're over here playing this little game where I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this, I don't have, that's the biggest one we do. We look at all our scarcity and what we don't have. Now, once you discover you don't feel good,
Yep.
go up in your attic and find out what you're thinking.
Okay.
Stinking thinking. Gotta get rid
You.
of the stinking thinking. There's a song by Eddie Watkins like that. Love that man. He's a great musician. I listen to his music all the time. So if you don't feel well, you go up and what am I thinking? Oh, I'm thinking I don't have money. I don't have a friend. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have the. You'll find usually it's scarcity thinking that's starting you over there.
Yep.
So, a couple ways. If it's a light negative thought, you go, "Ooh, I don't feel good." Oh, I was thinking that I can't go do the movie shoot today. Then you go, "Ah." So, ego, there's one thing I know about yourself, that you're telling me the exact opposite of the truth, and that's what you came to do. So if you're telling me the opposite, that I can't go do the movie shoot, that means I can. So thank you very much for your message. Do you have anything else for me? That's what she does. She goes, do you have anything else for me?
Yeah. Tell me about your pain. You know, there are times where you can probably tell by the way I talk, I go pretty quickly. And so in order for me to slow that down, my mind will think of those negative thoughts really fast,
Click, click, click.
consistently, same one over and over and over and over.
Yep.
So I found that I had to actually write it. One, it slowed the mind down, and I noticed I was too lazy to write that negative thought 100 million times. So I'd only write it once or twice. But once I could actually get it out, you know, the ego had a chance to have its say. And then I knew what I was working with and where I was, and most of it is going to be negative things that are being worked on, and then we can start flipping them around.
If you're a great tool, if you're really over suffering, and if you're suffering, you're over in what I call the ego bar, the ego lake, drinking its ale, you know, doing the yes, I'm not worth it thing. One of the things, if you're over in the lake, sit down and write down every single negative thought you have, one after another, but don't process it, don't rationalize it. Just go, I hate this, I hate that I'm this, I hate that I'm mad about this, I hate that he did this. You just keep writing as fast as you can and as furious as you can. Sometimes it'll repeat. Just keep at it, because there will be a moment that you'll go, whoa, and all the trash you had in your head is gone. Yeah. It just goes. Now, I've been bumping that up, which has been really phenomenal. If you start saying, I appreciate how pissed off I am. Yeah. I appreciate I don't understand this situation. I appreciate I'm out of my core. That shifts it a little faster.
Okay.
Okay? So the first thing is to identify you're running on that. I have a picket fence, and I'm either on this side or that side, you know. Yeah. So if I'm running on that side of the fence, I have to identify I don't feel good, identify what the thought system is that's drenching me with not feel good things, and then start working with whatever it's giving you. Work with the fact that it's giving you the exact opposite, the definition of where you truly are, and then start going that processing. It's giving you something to work on. It's giving you an asset. You know, nothing needs healing, something needs revealing. The ego's trying to get you to reveal a gift, a source, a skill, an advancement of who you are in the planetary system, and a higher ability to love. You know, that's what it's here for.
Yeah.
And I would add to that it really, everything you're describing is really actually getting to a truth. So no matter how nasty, or maybe it's not really high spiritual, whatever it is, that once I get to a truth, and we talk about this with our clients when we get in there, somebody will come in and tell us their story, and then we kind of go, okay, but through inside there deeper is the real story. Once we can all get on an acceptance and a truth, we can move forward from that. So once we get to a truth, we can build from that and get back to the actual truth. But, you know, the truth of what they're working with, which is I'm powerless. You know, once you get down to the core of that, and then you can move forward to the universal truths, all the universal truths feel good to me. And so once you kind of get to what they're working with, so oftentimes we will present something out here that we think is the issue, but it usually boils down to one of the few things she actually just listed off. They're pretty darn basic once we can get through that. And once you get to that, now you know what you're working with, now you can move forward.
It's interesting. We do what we call the shaman hospital. You come for 3 or 4 days, sometimes 5. It depends on how constricted you, how netted up you got yourself. So what happens is you come in and we do, let's say it's a 3-day intensive, we call it an intensive. You come in and get loved. And we love to live in tar out of you. We love you. And so your resistance and congestion isn't allowing you, and that's why you're there, because there's a bigger love of you, a bigger life force trying to come out of you and exude itself into your living. And so that's the first thing we do in an intensive, is find out what the truth is that wants to be born here. And then we go to work. We put you on the table. We work with the cells in your body. We work with we work holographically and shamanically. People talk about their lives do 180s after intensives, and we laugh. We don't charge for the facelift.
Yeah, they always go look at yourself in the mirror. They always look so great.
Because they've dumped all this garbage, and that it's not, I mean, it's loving garbage, I get it. It's not garbage, they're yelling at me.
It's all good.
It's all good stuff that got you to this revealment. Mm-hmm. And the egoic system is what got you there.
We build a field, and it is pure love. Mm-hmm. Even that sounds pretty basic, but that's what it is. It's almost like a gel. So for us to be in this field of love, you pretty much immerse yourself in. So all of the light in us is lighting up all the light in that person.
Vibrational resonant medicine is what we do.
And they can't really hold their ego really. They try, but by the end, it's really. And they go,
Nathan's been
"Who's having more fun?"
Nathan's been to our intensives. What are they like for you?
I've got enough time to even talk about it. Other than say they're amazing, and all I would ask or advise you to do, if you get a chance to work with these two, then jump in, do it. You'll love it, and
They're
it'll
hard to
definitely be-
explain.
Yeah, it'll be an experience you never forget, and you leave there feeling very fulfilled, and you feel like you're better walking away than when you walked in.
We want you powered
I want
up.
that.
That's what you came for, is to get powered up,
Yeah.
cleared and powered up, and that's what we do. And that's all about. And a big part of the work is showing you have to.
Right.
In order to go forward quicker, and we're all about efficiency.
Yes, we are.
Yes. We want efficiency. That the faster we can get you moving in frequency and in the where you want to go to, our work is all about clearing you to do that. But you can't do that if you don't accept that you're supposed to be nutted up, and you're supposed to come out of it. You're supposed to have an ego beating you up. You're supposed to have that, and it's what you do with that that gives you all the power and the revealing and the grace and the good stuff and the, and if you stay over there, you can't do it wrong. If you want to stay over there, you stay over in that misery and that negative thinking and the negative statements about yourself and the self-loathing and self-hating, and we'll talk about that later, right? You got that as a question? I knew you did.
And
Yeah.
it's not as much fun, but yeah, you can.
Yeah,
It's in
you
there.
can. You can't do it wrong. And there are people that stay there till they die. And I got to tell you, when you go over to full consciousness, you are so drenched in the most pristine, amazing, decadent, oozing love that loves every part of you. There is nothing that it doesn't love. And it is, you have to allow the love in. All the protection mechanisms, all the walls have to be dissolved there. There's no distraction. You can't get a drink. You can't go watch TV or videos or something. There's no distractions. You've got to just be love and let go. So I got to tell you, it's easier to do here and get yourself ready to in pure self-acceptance and pure self-allowance, in soul identity, and embracing the ego as a friend rather than a warrior against you. So much easier.
I would have to say one of my all-time favorite things when I'm having a triggered moment is when Suni says, "You know what? It's all good. You can't do this wrong." And I just love that, because I think the more nutted up I'm feeling is because I don't think it's okay. It's not okay.
Judging
and the
yourself,
fact that you can go
yeah.
in and say, "You know what? You're supposed to be here. It's supposed to feel like this. So let's get a grip on where we are. It's okay. Let's get here. Now we can move forward." So that whole "it's all good. It's okay. You can't do it wrong" is great. And in these intensives, when you describe what it's like on the other side, that's what I would love for that to be like that for you here in physical when you come to our intensives, that you feel like you almost have crossed over, but you're still in a body.
Yeah.
And it gives you a chance to actually experience that. And we can live like that here. We just got to figure it out.
And we say to people that come in intensives, how good can you stand it? And they go, "Oh, we're good. We can stand it really well." But what happens is it's altering. You really have to expand your mind to have goodness, big goodness come into you. And our job is to teach you how to run your life in that way. Instead, I asked one day, I said, "So can I do this without suffering much?"
Oh, I love this.
Because I have done a lot of suffering in my life. I've practiced it. And so they said, "Yes, you can do that." And there's a couple different ways. One of them is, I said, "So here's my life. Good, good, good. Woo-hoo. Good, good, good. Hoo-hoo. Okay. And now I've got it good, good. And now it's kind of good, good. I said, "Can I just go good?" And they go, "Yes, stop looking backwards." Because whatever you're looking at, you're creating. Stop looking that you don't have, you're not powered. Stop looking that you are less than. Stop looking that you weren't supposed to be here. Stop looking at all that negative stuff. Command yourself to say, "Okay, The law of the universe says I'm supposed to be who I am, what I am, how I am, right here, right now. Now what? And then you ask the universe a question, how do I do that? Well, you go to your core identity. Your core identity is endless energy, eternal solutions, all power. And what do I want to create here? So all of the ego suffering is going to bring you to that, and all of the ego suffering is there for you to stand in the center of that.
Even if I'm having a negative moment where I'm working on something that I don't think it should be different.
Yeah, my ego says, do that way.
Even when I'm in that and I just shift to what I want to create, if I can catch myself and just go to one, I instantly feel better.
Yeah.
And if
You
I
raise
believe
the
in quantum
frequency.
physics and that like energies attract, if I really believe that, you know, how much time am I going to allow myself to be on that negative side? If I'm creating constantly, then I best be getting myself over there. But just the sheer feeling of just in that second of shifting from I don't have it to what do I want to create, I instantly have some form of higher feeling at that
Well,
moment.
what you're doing, and this is, I'm glad you brought that up. We're going down. Okay.
We're just getting
We're
started.
done. So what I want to talk into what you were talking about, having the ego, and you're talking about like energies attracting,
Right.
Everybody knows like energies attract. Everybody's heard it. Scientists have proven it. You know, they pull into each other. But the key is to get it into operation, and that's what you're talking
Right.
about. You have to drop it down in your body and understand that what I'm feeling is going to suck into me what I'm feeling. You know, I don't know if I talked about it earlier. You go to the mirror, and if I'm having a bad day, and I look at the mirror and say, could you possibly tell me a joke? And smile. The mirror can't do that. The substance of source can only give you what you're giving it. So you get it down into operation down here that, okay, in this moment, what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing is creating and calling in. Now, I can hear somebody going, well, but what if it's funky stuff? I can't help and I'm processing. Hold in your system that I'm moving this to a higher frequency.
Exactly.
And you're giving the universe, I'm moving this to higher frequency. Watch me. Guess what you're going to have? Easier systems. But it is an operational system that I participate with my body. That's why I don't teach in going out of body. I teach get in your body, stay in your body, use your body, exactly what it was for. That if you feel good, every dream you want will come into you. But it's not from up here feeling. You have to get it down in your power center. You have to get out in your second chakra, which is about what you think you can have. And your first chakra anchored into the earth. Make sense? It's an operation that you have to get into.
Yeah.
It's not just a thought system.
And there, I mean, the ego has protected us because that is a risky place. You know, that's where that's soft and squishy in there, and so it can be owie. It's tender. It's sensitive.
Yep.
So we try to protect that. But what nobody tells you is that's where all the pleasure and the ecstasy is as well. So when you shut down, you shut it all down.
Yep.
So the fact that you actually want to be able to go through some of those, your ego is going to try to stop you, and you got to have some courage or muscle or discipline or whatever you want to call it, and get through that and really move through there to get those good feelings, because it's kind of kind of where I'm pointing my bazooka is what I'm calling back in. So if I'm negative for too long, I'm bringing that stuff in. I'm not going to deny the fact that I'm going to have feelings. I'm going to have them.
Well, you're
And I'm
supposed
going
to
to have
be built
grief.
with them.
I'm going to have that
That's
stuff.
how you run
How
fields of
long do I
energy.
let myself stay there? So I get to stay there seconds at best. You know, I don't want to stay there too long because I know I'm creating
I
there.
do more than seconds.
Depends on what it is. Seconds at best if I can catch myself and go, oh, like in the car today. You know, all right, I'm out of body, I need to get in. So that was probably a minute or so. And there are some that take a little longer, but the fact that I know that I'm creating, you know, there's a reason I am protecting that area, because it's going to be, you know, sensitive, or there may, you know, potential that I can have it that good. The feeling of maybe I didn't get to have it that good is what I'm protecting myself from. But then I shut the whole thing down. So I've got to be willing to feel the funky stuff to get to the good stuff.
And you got to remember, you were designed with feelings. Embrace that, accept it. I was designed to feel. It's the biggest part of coming to the planetary system, to have the experience in this density and this intense feelings. You know, we came as souls to do that. So why not embrace it? I'll say, Now, soul, I need to talk to you about this. Are you feeling this? Because it's not fun. You know, I got to be honest. There's times when I'm a high focuser,
Yeah.
so I'm black or white, and if I go off road, I'm going to be funky. But I do have a limit, like you do,
Yeah.
on little feelings. I don't stay in little feelings very long. But if I get a big feeling, a jolt in my life, we all have them.
A shock or
Yeah, I immediately know I have to do work.
Yep.
we were laughing because Nathan was just saying that we're like tennis match. What did
I
you?
feel like I'm sitting here and in the stand of a tennis match, and you two are hitting the ball back and across the net, and I keep waiting for the point to end. I'm saying surely someone's going to hit a winning shot, but we just keep going, which is great. But,
Well, the subject is take the subject. We're in creation, and it keeps creating something.
Yeah.
so they're all winning shots.
great.
Excellent.
We have a new game called the spiritual tennis game. Okay, so we were discussing about the fact that like energies attract, and it's an operation down in your body, and that when the ego starts getting on you and grabbing you off road, the job is to understand it's supposed to get you off road, and your whole thing you're supposed to be as you is a creator. You were discussing that. Am I on task where we were? Good.
Is that the end of the question? The end of the answer?
Well, the question originally was best way to work with the ego.
Yeah.
Number one, know that you have it, know it exists, know it's as part of you. You were designed with it. You're supposed to have it. Give up that you're not supposed to. Don't go to war with it. Embrace it. Bring it in and say, what do you got? What are you trying to tell me? And use it. Get your power with it. And thank you very much. We need to talk about a little bit, segue in here, about all the feelings.
Yeah.
You're built of feelings. It's how you move energy. Energy and motion. Emotions want to be felt and moved. That's how we functionality our system.
Yep.
And so understanding that the ego is going to give you the funky ones. You're not going to die from them. It feels like it sometimes in shamanic deathings, but your job is to move them, feel them, get the revealing, get whatever needs to come out of you and be brought up from inside of you. They're there for you. Every single aspect of this egoic system is there to work for you, to get you authentic.
Okay.
That's good.
Better than good.
Excellent.
Next question, something I've been curious about for a long time. It's about beliefs, and I've always been fascinated that so many people have different beliefs, even about the same subject
Oh yeah,
or the same experience.
right?
So I'm just curious if you can talk into a bit about what is a belief and how is a belief formed.
A belief starts with a thought,
Okay.
and if you think it more, if you think it once, it's a thought. Well, I had that thought.
Yep.
I had that thought. I should have brought my jacket. You didn't. What happens is when you think it more and more, it drops down into your body, and then you get the vibrational resonance of it, and your body starts feeling it, and then it becomes a belief. And the more time you spend in there solidifying it as a truth, then it becomes a knowing. So it starts with a thought.
Okay. And obviously we have some beliefs, if you want to say, positive beliefs or negative beliefs, depending on how you view things, want to see them. But I'm interested in then how do you create a positive belief?
As opposed to a negative. Well, I would offer, first of all, we're giving up right or wrong in the matrix we're in. We're being asked to give up things being right or wrong. And so even going slower vibration or higher vibration is softer to our systems than negative and positive. It's black and white. It's like you can feel depression, you can feel anger, you can feel sadness, you can feel 0 point numbness or not anything, and then you can feel happiness, joy, as you go up the scale.
Just talking further about beliefs, and we touched on then about negative beliefs, but if you're in
And
a,
motorcycles going by, if you can hear them.
Yeah.
The bikers are out.
so I'm
The
curious to know
weather's
how do
great.
you create positive beliefs, and particularly if you're already in or experiencing a negative belief, how do you turn that around or turn it into a positive belief?
Well, in the beginning, when you start doing this work, you go, I can't do this, to I can do this, but you don't buy into it, you don't believe it, and you don't feel it. So there's a key, a bridge and a link that has to happen that you have to, for me, and what I teach, it goes back to who are you on the planetary system, an expression of Source. Can Source not do this? Well, okay, Source can do it, but I'm not Source. Well, actually, I am an expression of Source. So what happens is when you go back to your core that can do it, okay, you got to connect what you want to change in your life. I can do this. You got to connect it down into your core that already believes and has that you can do it. You're putting it into your system. Hummingbird. I'm sorry. It was so cool. Okay, you're putting it into the system of your body, and the body is going to start harmonizing it. It's going to start vibrating it. The more you feel it, it's kind of like creating manifestation, okay? But you're going down in, practicing your vibration into the belief until your mind begins to know it as your truth.
Okay.
I call it, you got to bake it.
Yep.
And I like to test myself. So
How do you do that?
I know I have it by my response to things. So if I truly have a belief in place, my natural response to that being brought into my system or being exposed to it, my natural response means I really have it. So in the beginning, my response may have to be coached a little. I may have to practice into my response. But when I naturally just respond that way, then I know I've got the belief locked in.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm curious, I know we all have individual beliefs,
Yes.
but then we also have, you might be part of a group and that group has a belief,
Yep.
or society has beliefs, and even different countries and other areas, there may even be global beliefs.
Okay.
I'm just curious how that sort of fits in with our own personal beliefs, if they cross over, how that sort of works.
Well, remember the child comes in, the child, everything it hears is out there, everything it tastes is out there, everything's out there. So it's absorbing the out there to bring itself into here, okay? And as it does that, you pick up, oh, mom believes this, dad believes this. And you start joining the groups of things. And then as you grow older, you develop into your own inner being self, and your inner being self says, well, try this, this will work better for you, this will be more amiable to your inside core system. Now, what happens when you get in a group, those thoughts and are energy systems that collect together because they're like energies. That's why there are monks that sit and pray for the earth or things collectively, because they know they have a collective vibrational energetic that can start humming that vibration and bring the wholeness.
Okay. I'm curious to know about belief systems, that does our external world mirror our internal belief system?
Yep.
Tick that one off. Good. Well done.
Well, I was trying to think of how they wanted the functionality, that if you understand that everything you think and drop down into a belief and a knowing is put in the substance of abundance of Source, and Source is a radiant extension system that, and so the minute you plant that desire, dream, pod, negative statement about somebody, whatever it is, you're continually planting something in that abundance, and so the abundance is going to go grow it, and it grows it out. It goes out and comes in, but it has to, when it goes out to come in, if you put a really passionate, somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're like, you son of a, and you really go at it, you'll get many more people mirroring what you're doing immediately, pretty quickly. A lot of people are going to be cutting you off in traffic, and you're going to come home and go, geez, 10 people cut me off in traffic today. Well, who did that? Who created that? So the universe is a mirror that can only give you what you're giving the substance within you. You're that connected to this universe.
Okay. I want to come back to ego a little bit.
Okay.
And I know at times with me when my ego is running away, sometimes it feels like it's controlling you and you're out of control.
Yep.
So I'm just seeing if we can talk about how you can take the position of, say, director of the ego. You're in charge.
Put a different hat on. I think that the first thing is you have to know you can be in charge of your mind, that your mind actually belongs to you. It's like your hand belongs to you and you tell your hand what to do. The mind isn't any different.
Okay.
It's still a functionality of you doing it. And the first thing is to decide that you do that. That you can have power, not over, but with the egoic system. So that's the first step of it. And it's not so much that, I'm going to call this to a different point, it's not so much that you want power over the ego, you want to maintain your response to what the ego is trying to give you.
Yeah.
And that's a different ballgame, because what I respond is going to give me my experience of it.
Yeah.
Then you're not fighting the ego. The ego is supposed to send in negative voice commentary.
And I think once you take responsibility that you are the director, so once you get hired and accept the position that you are the director, then you've really just taken your power right there. So you can take your power forward and say, listen, I'm in charge here, I'm the director. And I think feeling powerlessness is got the opposite of being in directorship. So when you're in that place of powerlessness, to go, wait a minute, I am the director here, that is my job, and take back your power and take back the directorship of where you're going and what you're thinking.
Yeah, and when I get over in the ego, and it hits me, and quote unquote, I'm in the pity pot going, oh, I got hit by something, oh, it did something to me. Well, it didn't, But I get over there like everybody else, and unless one of the things powerless feels like, has a feeling, has a, you feel weak, you feel puny, you feel like crying, you feel like
bottomless, empty inside your gut. Scared, fear, terror.
You can do PTSD with it.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is that it has this ability to take you into that. But the minute I say to myself, wait a minute, I'm playing the role of powerlessness. Mm-hmm. And if I spend too much time there, then I'm abusing myself, and I'm abusing the role of powerlessness.
Yeah.
And I'm not, it's the same thing. Do I believe in Source? Yes. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Do I believe everything's made up of Source? Yes. But not me right now with this. I'm not Source. I don't have access to power. I don't have it. So, I don't believe in Source on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And in this situation, it's like Shauna's got a big circus tent where nothing that is Source goes. She puts everything in that tent.
Source is not in there. And it's a worn trail. It's a nice big tent, and everybody sell tickets to that thing, and you bring your stuff in that Source isn't in, and you go, oh yeah, Source isn't everything. Tent's empty. Get back out there.
And that's the key, is to realize everything is Source. If everything is Source, it's valuable. If everything is Source, then I have power here. If everything is Source, then I just got to figure it out. The work is to get my butt in gear and figure out where's my power, how is my power, how do I access it, and use the tools and the rules. Energy always changes. Law. This isn't going to stay like this forever. It's going to change.
And what am I creating? What am I, like you talked about the mirrors, what am I mirroring out there that's coming back? So once I claim that it's my fault, that's really awesome, because that means if it's my fault, that claimed my creatorship right there. So if it's my fault, good to know, because then I can go out and recreate that.
But we got to cover this, because we don't do blame in any way, shape, or form. There's no blame. Mm-hmm. We came here, like Shawnette says, we came here to make a mess and clean it up.
Go make a mess.
Go make a mess. We came here to do that. So there isn't any blame that you didn't get it right. Mm-hmm. Failure to me is, I discovered something I didn't know. I discovered something that I have an opportunity to learn. I can choose to learn it or not choose. Mm-hmm. Somebody said failure means that I tried.
Yeah.
I showed up and gave it a shot. Let's do it again. You know, so you got to switch that whole blame game thing and self-loathing thing that, oh, I'm a bad person, and the shame thing. A lot of us grew up with shame. You got to shift that whole shame thing about it, because you won't be able to go forward.
Okay.
But that's where we're at when we say, oh, I did that, I created that.
Yeah.
Because we know if
Good to
I
know.
own it, then I can create something.
Exactly.
I want to ask you now about, the ego is obviously very intricate, it's amazingly designed.
Sneaky little bugger.
As you mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about how it protects itself as being threatened. It's got the last time you explained to me one time, and my mind seemed to be getting sort of fogged out. And I couldn't really work out what's going on, and you told me again, it's one of the ego's defense mechanisms, and it has other ones as well. I'm just wondering if you might be able to talk into some of those and how it...
Well, if I'm not present to this moment and all the facts and figures, and I'm not present that I don't know everything in this moment, I'm not present that I have stuff to learn, then, and if that's uncomfortable, if it was very uncomfortable in my family coming up to learn something or not know, you know, it was very uncomfortable not knowing, so you didn't ask questions much in my family. And so growing up, if I go into that whole scenario, my mind is, my egoic system protection mechanism says, you need to fog out, get small, don't have any power, don't get your needs met, pull yourself in, and try and not exist, and you'll be safe, which obviously ain't working. It's not gonna work. But that's the program, because in my family, if I could get small and disappear and not ruffle the feathers of the water, I might survive that gig.
Yeah.
So we carry it, and that's a fog out. Is I can't pay attention to this because the pain is too much. But the truth is, the work is to go in, feel the pain, get to the other side, and gather up and reveal the power that you had. It's already in you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's in you. You were born with this power. It's all in there doing its thing, waiting for you to go, oh, I already had that. Good to know.
Well, there's another one I've experienced too, and I'll talk through it again, but
Okay.
you said also sometimes one of the defense mechanisms is the ego can drop itself quicker than you can change a thought almost. It can
The chemicals.
It can flood your body with chemicals. It can
The brain.
yeah.
Actually, the brain has a system, and I'm not a doctor, please get that. This is just how I see the energy operating, that there's a collective response to certain things. Yeah, I got raped in college, and I went to a party like, I don't know, 6 years later, and a gentleman walked in across the room, a spitting image of the guy that raped me. And my brain dumped all the feelings that I had, all the terror, all the, you know, and thank source, I was trained enough to know what was happening so I could take good care of myself in those emotions, which I teach consistently. I teach how to have every emotion you have be an asset to you. And I said, okay, this isn't, I had to go, I was doing some PTSD, shaking and things with it, and I went, this isn't real, I'm safe, you know, and I had to walk myself through it while my body was going through that whole emotional reaction thing. And I've had a lot of PTSD in my life, and you know, you guys know that somebody came and was stealing things in our town one Christmas, and came in and took my truck, and the policeman came, and I'm standing out there going like this, going, okay, you need to understand I'm really good in my core, and I'm solid as a rock, but my body's doing PTSD, and I'll be with you in just a minute, but you can talk to me because I'm really good. He goes, wow, good management. And I said, it'll take a little while to get out of this, but I'm good. And he was like, wow, that's awesome management. You're doing good. And he was very solid with it. And he said, wow, I'm very impressed. You know, so it's a matter of the fact that you have that ability to be the director of how, I don't care what the feeling is, you can be in management of that system.
Okay. Last question on the call.
Really? Oh. He's got like 300 guys. I don't think it's the last one.
There's a few more to go, but I'm just curious, can the ego become whole all the way down to the physical body and then unionize with the core?
So you're working on the premise that the ego isn't whole. Ooh, busted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what it feels like. It feels like
Yeah.
we're
You
feel
separated.
separate.
Okay, that's the what they call the illusion, but it certainly seems real. If I made up a source, which is my deep understanding belief, near-death experience belief, I got it. If I made up a source, and everything is source, everything, because source doesn't know anything. Source knows everything that is and everything that isn't as itself.
Yes.
So the baseline substance of the egoic system is wholeness. It's made out of Play-Doh.
Yep.
It just has a functionality that is uncomfortable for us as humans.
Okay.
Unless you accept it and start working with it and say, okay, this is an asset, it's not against me.
So it's the way we function with it. I mean, really, it boils down to the information we're getting in, using those different ideas, and create an experience for ourselves. You know, what kind of experience do I want to have here? You know, how long am I going to let myself go down that road? And how, you know, when am I going to turn this around and make it the experience I want to have? And maybe you may get news or something that's triggered you, and it may not, you know, could have those chemicals and those thoughts racing through. But that's when I decide when I'm going to pick this ball up and run with it, and run the other way and make the touchdown.
Oh, thank you. I want to talk into what seems to be a challenge to most people. I know I certainly have issues with this at different times, and that is self-care.
Ooh,
Again,
that's a
it's
big whopping
big
question.
topic.
Yeah.
So again, if I come to you for the first time and I'm learning about it, where do we start?
We start in the fact that you came in to do self-care about everything. Spirituality, emotions, mental, you know, body, energy, relationships. Everything is about not being separate, coming in and doing it from here out. You know, I said you didn't come in to serve others, you came in to serve this, and that spills out in wholeness and fullness to serve others, and you give without needing anything from anybody. And so self-care gets a little tricky because we have not embraced it as an operation that we're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
We couldn't do so. If you came into parental system that was challenging, I came into a challenging parental system. Self-care wasn't something I got to do because I needed to take care of my parents and their needs. So I didn't have self-care, and I didn't know how to do it. I'm still learning it. And it's like you say, there's some areas you're good at, and then there's others you're not. So the first thing is stop putting yourself down for not having it. Understand you're not supposed to have it in some areas. Understand when you notice you don't have it, you get busy learning it.
Yeah.
But you don't, again, shame is such a, shame says you're not good enough to be part of the family. You're not good enough to be part of the society or the pack. And shame, I'm like, stop shaming yourself, stop shaming children, don't shame anybody. It's the most, insidious self-loathing and self-hating. We've got to stop the shaming if we're going to get to the love that everybody wants on our planet to experience here. So self-care, again, just like you have an ego that you got to work with, self-care is just like that. And just because you came in and didn't have parents that taught it to you doesn't mean that you should be down on yourself. Why should you be down on yourself because you don't know how to do self-care if your parents didn't know how to do it? Nobody taught you. So self-care is a valuable, integrated, I can't even think of the word, really important system that you need to have, and understand that you're supposed to be doing self-care. And trust me, I'm working it. I'm learning how to do it. Every day I got to learn how to do it. How do you guys do self-care? Or not?
Well, I'm thinking there's so many different areas of that, but I mean, I know
Right.
if you want to use, say, diet for an example, and at times I get on, want to say, a good protocol, and I eat good balanced meals, and I eat the right amount, and other times, for whatever reasons, you get off base, and you might, you eat junk food, you eat other stuff, you do a lot of things you shouldn't do. So again, that keeps coming up over and over again, and I get on track for a good period of time, and then seem to lose it.
Well, the reason we lose it is because we don't have a plan to have it. It's like you got to take a breath. You got to take center down, get in the core, and say, what's my plan here? And when you have a plan, then you can train the mind to follow the plan. The body follows it, the direction.
Yeah,
Does that make
thing
sense?
is when you're in that, at times you know when you're getting off base, and you almost make that decision.
You
saying,
don't care.
I don't care. I'm having a burger or pizza and I eat chocolate and ice cream and have something else and I don't care.
I'm over in the ego's lake of I don't care.
So I
Yeah.
know I'm doing it, but
Sure.
being able to stop it or have the discipline to do it, or you don't seem to have, and that's where it becomes a bit tricky at times.
Well, that's where addictions are, distractions off of self-care, because if you did self-care as a child and it was painful or you got punished for it and chastised or shamed in any way, shape, or form, self-care is going to be something that is painful, and we it's fight or flight, and if it's painful, we move away from it. So we have to embrace that self-care is, we're supposed to be doing it. And you're supposed to have it, and you're supposed to love it, and you're supposed to not know how to do it, and you're supposed to learn how to do it. So the first thing is embrace that that's part of the gig here, to learn how to do that. Now, when you get into silence in the core, notice you don't have any cravings.
Yeah.
Because you're satiated with core. When you get into the quiet place, there's no cravings.
Is that one of the keys to good self-core? Bringing yourself back in here?
Yep.
Okay.
How do you
You
deal
know,
with it?
I love this topic, so I'm really glad we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And by the way, it got a
'Cause
little
it's a
chilly for me,
constant
so I had to put my
topic.
jacket on, but it is constant.
Good self-care.
And I think, exactly, good intro. There's a couple of things. For me, there's several levels of self-care, and one is just internal dialogue. So
More words,
the
please.
sweetness that you talk to your children, or maybe your fresh little puppy or your lover, the sweetness that you would communicate to another person, you can be that sweet inside of yourself in the way that you talk to yourself. So I think the way that you communicate inside is probably my number one thing to start with self-care.
Get softer with you.
Just be sweet to yourself. It's okay. A lot of times I think we do get someone else's voice that said it's not okay, or the word selfish. I've heard other things out in the world where they're, I can't do that because that's really selfish. Well, if everybody actually did really good self-care, we wouldn't be expecting other people to take care of us. We wouldn't expect, well, you should have known that. You should have known what I needed there. And there can be some dissension within that. But if I'm already taking good care of myself, I'm good. I got this.
And part of taking care of yourself is saying, I have a need, can you help me with it? And if you can't, it's okay, because I'll go over here and see how to get it met.
Absolutely. And I love that because that's so clear. There's no me not saying anything and then I have internal upset because you didn't take care of my need that I never told you I had in the first place.
Yeah, I'm going to be resentful because you didn't know psychically I had a need and you didn't take care of it. It was your job to take care of it. And I want to manipulate you, at some point you get to that passive aggressive manipulation.
Right.
Instead of getting honest and saying, I have a need, and thank you very much. They're saying that goes all the way back to, if you don't claim yourself as a valuable entity on the planetary system, then you will not be able to stand up and say, I have a need, I want to do this, I want to do this, I need to take care of this. But if you're not claiming, thank you, Mosquito, if you're not claiming that, that's the beginner.
And I love the value part of this. It seems like value ties into so many different areas of these questions. But when I assign a huge amount of value within myself, I'm assigning a huge amount of value everywhere. Everything, everyone, we all have value. And we all have a responsibility to take care of ourselves.
And let's go, if I don't have value of me to start out with, if I can't claim that, and guys, you got to claim it and practice your way into it. It's not going to be familiar. It's not going to be comfortable. You got to do one step aside. If I don't claim that, then what's going to happen? I won't claim that I'm source energy. I won't claim that I'm the valued existence of source. And if I can't claim value here, I will not be able to value you or you or you or you, because I'm not sitting in my value. Value sees value. The only thing I'll see is how useful are you to get my needs manipulatedly, manipulatedly met.
Nice.
You see how that works?
Yeah.
And so self-care, accept it as part of what you're supposed to be doing here. Have it come from the fact, when I had to learn in the beginning, in my self-care, I was trained not to do self-care, so I'm still coming out of that legacy. So in the beginning, be nice to yourself, but know that you're supposed to do it. But also, it gets a little tricky. Well, I'm doing self-care. I want to manipulate you. You know, I'm not going to take care of myself. And part of that is I'm not going to believe the universe is abundant enough to give things to me. Yeah. So I need you to give it to me. I expect you to take care of me because I'm not going to. And what happens is you burn your friends out. Yeah. You know, you're not coming to the table saying I'm valuable. This is where I'm at. This is what I got going. Can I talk into this with you? Everybody likes to give, but they like to give in authenticity. They like to give in care because you're valuing you. The universe will give tons of things to you. Mm-hmm. But if you're in scarcity about abundance, if you're in scarcity about source is not an abundant conspiring on your behalf, good stuff coming in, abundant system, then, and you're sure that nothing comes your way, you're sure that you can't have your needs met, you're sure that you're not worth having my needs met, you know, all the high drama, then you're going to go out and want this out here to get it met when all your supply comes from in here. Yeah. All that you want in your world comes from having it in here first. And that has to be out of value. Okay. Out of your valuing. I didn't mean out of value.
Right. The other great lesson I've gotten from SUNY through this is when you talk about your childhood and the things that you've had to work through, as a parent, it was like looking into the window of how I could affect my children's lives. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to share that.
Oh.
Yeah. Because as we all know sitting at this table, my kids are doing really great. And so they actually were able to be raised in a place where when you make something a priority or you show value for something, they get that that's important. So if they watch me do self-care, they understand that I expect that of them. And if they do something that takes care of themselves, I'll say, hey, great self-care there. So they're being encouraged to do those things, and I'm role modeling. So if I'm not doing it, how do I expect them to do it?
Well, I had to share with these guys. She had the courage to operate my parental system, and part of it is owning when you have an emotional reaction. It's not about anybody else. It's about you having an emotional reaction.
Right.
There's no anger in this moment. There's only my emotional reaction. And she gave her children permission to say, if I'm having an emotional reaction, you need to know it's not about you and what you did.
Yep.
Gutsy parents.
And they were young.
And they do that.
Oh, they were young. And you didn't think they really got it until they called me on it the first time. Mom, that anger's not about us, it's about you. And I went, you're exactly right. And I triggered that right off of there real quick. And so I was an angry parent. There were some things that I wasn't doing good self-care, and I had some underlying anger, and it would come out whether we were not getting to school on time or whatever it was that I was running. And boy, I'll tell you what, I shifted. I mean, really, the fact that they were able to be empowered in that way and that they were being heard and I could shift it, and they understood, and they did great. I mean, they were a big, huge part of me getting what I got.
Yeah, well, you built them. You had the wherewithal, and for me, this work takes a mass amount of courage. Oh my gosh. You know, to be able to stand up and own an emotional reaction as a parent that says, I'm having a huge emotional reaction. And one of the things I said to a gentleman I was dating once, I said, I am having an emotional reaction. I am so upset with what you did, but you need to know my heart is open to loving you because I do not shut my heart because you did something. I'm going to go in my room, I'm going to take care of my emotional reaction, and then I'll be out. Yeah. And we'll talk about what you did. He just stood there, he was like, what? You know, he didn't even know what to do with that when you take that much ownership of your emotions. Mm-hmm.
And you can go ahead and allow yourself to have the emotions, come back clear, and work on what the true issue is. So that, you know, a lot of this anger, like you say, it's not what you're working with right here. It's from back there anyway that I need to work on.
Yep. It's from the past. But you have to understand emotions. Every single emotion, anger, sadness, joy, whatever it is, are all equal inside of you. There's not bad emotions to feel. There's emotions that are important. Every emotion is important. Every emotion has to be felt. Every emotion has to be moved. That's what they are. Oh, I'm feeling big, ugly anger. Okay, go move it. I'm in charge.
And how are you treating yourself through? So there was no shame in that. It's just, yes, that happens. It's part of life, and I need to take care of it. And so, and that's what I'm talking about, that internal dialogue. How do you treat yourself while you're working through things that may be uncomfortable, or maybe society doesn't agree, or maybe you were taught from your parents that that's not okay.
Yep.
You still need to be sweet and kind to yourself and give yourself that space to move through it.
Now I came up in the system that you need to be, what was it? Children are pictures that are seen but not heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having emotions were like, no, you don't get to have those.
Right.
It's like, and so when I got on my own, I didn't know what to do with them because I was so used to being under their control. So it put me in abusive situations because I didn't, deal with the fact that I didn't want you to touch me like that.
Or you could clearly say,
Yep.
this is what I need. I'm in
Bingo.
my power here.
Didn't have it. And understand, as a soul, I chose the situation of my family to use as assets and gather. We're in soul boot camp here, and the bigger your experience is of uncomfortability, the bigger your experience of grace, source.
It's like being really, really hungry and then dinner comes.
Yeah.
The dinner just tastes that much better. So
Much good.
when I've experienced a lot of separation and came back, boy, that pleasure and ecstasy of coming back is savory. It's really good stuff.
What else you want to know?
Well, that thing you asked,
I saw it. He was doing something over there.
I want to see if you can talk into what good self-care looks like and feels like, and perhaps you may have some tools to offer about how you do that.
Tons of tools, and I'm kind of assuming we're going to do a segment on just tools.
We are. But if you
Or
want-
maybe the next second book set. I don't know. Tons of tools. I've evolved in what self-care is.
We all
Thank
have.
you.
Yeah.
In understanding it and how it functions. And today, thank you very much. They're saying go back. So I understood I had to stand up for myself and say, no, I don't want to go see that movie. Even though part of me wanted to go with a group and be with a group, that self-care of feeling aloneness or separation or whatever because I didn't go and I wasn't with the group, and discovering that going to see a movie I didn't want to see was not as beneficial as saying no and getting filled up with my core so I didn't feel lonely. All of those aspects of self-care, but back then it was like I was fighting with judgments and everything out here, okay? Today, what they bring me to is what in this moment is the highest feeling good, vibrational resonant, not thought, vibrational resonant in your body, go do the highest.
Okay.
Every single time life works out better if you do.
Yeah. I think you said to me once before to make a list if you can't work out what you want to do for the day, or if you write out the list of things you have to do and then put them in order of what feels best and start with the one that feels the best and then go from there.
Yeah, and Shawnette and I actually pick out the ones that have excitement.
Okay.
It kind of feels, best is kind of nice, but I want to go for a little more than that. It feels really good if I got those dishes done, the sink was clean, and the counters are all nice, and I could turn on my good music. That feel good. Okay, I'm going to do that, and then I'll go do. Now, this girl, she has got tiaras that she wears for vacuuming, for doing dishes.
Which is great in your own house. It's good fun. And the kids will have friends over and go, no, my mom really does that. And then when I go to drive them home, I forget I have it. I'm in the grocery store. I've got the tiara on, don't I? Yep. Go with it. Let's go with it. But if I can create the best experience possible and make it fun, then it goes back to the mirror theory. I'm putting that out and this good stuff comes back in.
Somebody's asking something about the fact that you're going to hurt other people's feelings if you do self-care.
Okay.
You one of the things you're going to have to adopt in this work is to really get it, the power of it, is you're not responsible for anybody's emotions, period. End of discussion, ever. It's like I said to someone who was really angry once, I said, I'm not responsible for your response to this situation and your emotions with it. But I also know that when you're angry, you think you lost something. Friendship, respect, whatever. I'd be happy to work with you on how I might be able to find what you're missing, and we can bridge it and make it a win-win. Mm-hmm. He just stood there and went, what? So there's a self-care used to be based on everybody else. And it's got, there's the eye of the heart selfish and eye of the ego selfish. I teach eye of the heart every single time.